Welcome to Cash Grab, the podcast where we go through different movie franchises that have been turned into video games or vice versa and decide, are they a cash grab or are they not? My name is Tom.
I'm Steph.
And
today, there we go. Yeah, there he is. Today we have Dan as a special guest.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
He's back, and I couldn't think of a better episode to have Dan on, to be honest.
No,
Very excited.
we've effectively got a resident expert in-house at the moment. And another interesting fact, which links to Final Fantasy, not only is Dan what it could commonly be known as an expert for many Final Fantasies, including Final Fantasy VII, which we're doing today, Steph, you are also the only other man known to mankind, other than Barrett, that has a gun sewn to his arm.
Yeah.
I was a bit shocked when I came round and you pointed it in my face, which was very rude. And
then he showed you his gun.
It's my prerogative, Dad, if I want to point it in your face, not if you come to my house.
The amazing thing about it is that Steph can still play games on a controller, and yet,
although
he's got a cannon attached to his wrist on one arm.
It would explain some of the gameplay that we see from me. so terrible.
Like, Steph's great at everything, but he can only turn left.
Like my Doom gameplay is just
it's atrocious. For those that want to see it, if you're that way inclined, if you fancy wasting half an hour, go watch our opening bit of Doom. That'll do it. That's the thing, though. Just before we jump into it, a quick thing about Barrett and his gun arm. We find out that there's another person in Final Fantasy VII who has a gun on their arm. Why is everyone obsessed with sewing guns to their arm during accidents? Because I know for a fact...
Who else has a gun on their arm?
Dine. Don't worry about it. I know for a fact that if my hand was blown off of my arm and I'd wake up like in the middle of a hospital or on an operating table or whatever, or frankly in like a car garage, considering what happens to you, if I woke up in any of those scenarios and I thought to myself, well, at least now I've got a weapon, I know for a fact my wife would have put in a note with the doctor beforehand to make sure that she put a fucking lawnmower on my arm or something. So she'd be like, there's no way you can get out of doing the lawn now.
Yeah, something more useful.
Yeah, like a whisk. She'd put a whisk on my arm.
And now you have to make meringues, Tom.
Yeah, now you have to help me make cakes. Fucking hell.
Strangely enough, that's pretty much Barrett's side story.
It does, yeah. Well, his wife didn't put the good word in beforehand.
Well, she put no word in. She's dead.
Oh, God damn.
The Final Fantasy expert, everyone. Right. So, yes, today is Final Fantasy VII. And first of all, we are going to jump into the movie and we are doing Advent Children. So, first of all, we must say our sincere apologies. But it had to be done. There's no other way around it, I don't believe, is there?
No. So same thing with the Doom episode. We're going to have to start with the film.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Start with the game. Start with
the game.
And then we go on to Advent Children, which makes sense because Advent Children is a follow-on from Final Fantasy VII.
Absolutely. Yes.
We will say now that there will be like spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Original, but Dan is the only one that has played remake, and he has promised not to spoil anything, or we will all kill him. So he's so if this episode cuts out halfway through,
taking it very lightly.
I have the power.
So yeah, don't worry about Final Fantasy remake spoilers, but yes, there will most likely be Final Fantasy VII spoilers.
Yes,
by this point, considering it's over 20 years old, it's kind of inexcusable, really.
And like the main spoiler of Final Fantasy VII is plastered everywhere, so it's not really a big deal.
When Tifa has a baby. So anyway, let's jump into it. So Final Fantasy VII starts off, starry sky, pair of eyes appear, and it's a young flower girl walking through the slums of Midgar, a disgusting, despicable place, but with beautiful souls inside. I believe there's a nice bit of juxtaposition there between the innocence of a beautiful flower girl and the disgusting, sickening slums of Midgar. Nice start.
Yeah, it does give you the idea of like a horrible capital city
A
prose
dystopia.
feel. Yeah.
Also, I mean,
Um,
you could look at it as quite bustling. I mean,
yes.
yeah, and
You could.
there is so much life there, and it is a technological marvel. Which obviously for Final Fantasy was the very first time they did that. But it was a
Yes.
huge, huge shift. Not just from what you were seeing and the background setting of like fantasies and all that, but I mean, it went in tandem with the technology that they were using for the FMVs and the actual game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, thinking about it now, because PS1 FMVs have always been kind of like the subject of nightmare for me. But I don't think Final Fantasy VII has particularly freaky FMV thinking about it. In fact, I
I
think it's
think
quite
it's
good.
I think it's because they kind of it's not like so for me, if you look at Final Fantasy VIII, where they tried to go more realistic,
Yeah.
I found that that
Yeah.
was a bit off-putting because it wasn't quite there, like the graphically wasn't there. Whereas
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, obviously in game is very blocky, and when they've got done the FMVs, the characters are still blocky, like
It's
they're
yeah.
just high res versions of the blocky characters.
Yeah,
So like they're
they're
not
kind of just elongated blocks, aren't they?
yeah, they're not trying to be realistic FMVs. You know,
Very
they're not
true.
being they still kind of keep the look of the game in there, and I think that's why it's not disgusting.
Yeah,
It's
very
interesting
disgusting.
because they use like three different models for different points in the game. You've got the in-game
Yes.
model, you've got the battle model.
And the FMV models.
Yeah, and even then, some of the FMVs sort of switch between like the
Yeah.
full character models and then then the blocky ones.
Yeah, the one which rings to my mind is when you have the slapping contest on top of a cannon with Scarlet when you're playing as Tifa, and then you have like what is the high wind? You have the high wind come up like
Yeah.
perfectly like perfect FMV, and then you've got like a terrible blocky Barrett on top, being like, "Get in, get
Throw
in!
the
She's
bracket.
gonna slap the flavor out of your mouth." And luckily, Tifa does get him.
Oh,
That's your first spoiler right there.
so many highlights. That's a highlight.
That's a
So,
definite.
so Dan, how many times have you played the original Final Fantasy VII?
The original Final Fantasy VII. Must have played it about 4 times.
And how many times have you bought it?
Only twice. Only twice. I'm probably going to
Aw.
get it on Switch at one point. But I mean, I remember the first time I bought it, I had to really search, like way back when. And then when I finally did manage to get one, because they were all sold out, it was an American version. So
Oh.
it took forever to try and get to work on the PS1, and I didn't really understand because I managed to like track down this stupid version that didn't fit. I
Didn't fit
managed
with a massive disc?
Yeah, the disc was
It
4
was-
millimeters
I
too
got,
big.
I got a vinyl
Every-
copy of Final
everything's bigger in
Fantasy
Vinyl.
America.
Yeah,
Everything's bigger in America, isn't it? But
that is true.
yeah.
Rose.
But eventually, yeah. And then when I started traveling with work, that's when I bought it on PS Store, PlayStation Store, and traveled with it with PSP as well.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, because Tom, you had the PS1 version, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And I borrowed that off you when we were younger, and I never my little child brain couldn't understand what was going on, so I just gave it back to you and went, "This isn't for me."
Yeah,
And it was
remember.
only when I got a PSP and I downloaded the PlayStation 1 version from the store, and
Yeah,
I gave that a go, and I loved it.
yeah.
But I still don't remember it as well as you two seem to remember the game.
Well, I've only had a fresh playthrough of it like a few months ago, so I've got it really in my head at the moment. Like it's still
Okay.
it's still one of the kind of more recent games I've played. But that's probably like, oh, God knows, that's probably like my 8th playthrough of it, maybe more to be honest. Although I've only ever owned the PlayStation copy, so my KD ratio between owning a copy to completing it is pretty high. I'd say 8-1. That's a
Yeah.
solid. That's a representative.
You got a lot of play at that disc.
Yeah, that's a good KD ratio in my opinion. I should be rewarded for that KD ratio. Some people play a game once, and lesser games may I add, like like battle for Bikini Bottom. And then as soon as they've completed it, they'll use that disc for toilet paper.
Well, what about the fact that on Steam I've got loads of games I haven't even played? How's about that? 0 to 1 KD.
Yeah.
Exactly. Lots of people, or don't be ashamed. Lots of people have a 0 to 1 KD. I'm representing a fat KD, PH fat. 8 to 1.
See,
That's
my problem is as soon as I start playing like one Final Fantasy, I got to play through like most of them.
This is a weird. Now, don't get offended, Dan. It's a weird neurological disorder you have, I think, with Final Fantasy games because they're not linked.
Chronological.
Yeah, they're not in any way linked to one another.
And also, they're all like 40 to 100 hours each. So like, it's sort of oh, okay, I'll quickly play through that because it's only 5-hour game and I'll get the backstory again. You're dedicating so much time.
Absolutely.
But let me say this: Final Fantasy VII is connected to one of the other Final Fantasies.
Yeah, doesn't Sephiroth appear in one of the other Final Fantasies?
What?
Is that what it was?
No, if it is, I don't know about that, and
I've never heard that.
Interested to find out what one that would be.
I could be wrong.
He's not like hanging about with a coconut with a straw in it in like Kilika in Final Fantasy X, is he? Just
hi guys.
He's got shades on, swimming trunks, coconut with a straw in it, little umbrella.
That is actually the Final Fantasy it's connected to. No, 10. Because they say it's the same world.
Spira and really?
Yeah.
How is that even possible? What's some of the evidence? I want to hear evidence.
That Final Fantasy X is way back in the past, so 7 comes after.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm not going to like go into anything regarding the remake, but Final Fantasy is known for a lot of like Easter eggs and such and sorts. But in 10.2, there's a character called on the ship with the girls.
That's
he's called Shinra.
Yes, he is, and he knows everything.
Yeah, the little kid that knows everything.
Yes.
And then at the end of 10.2, he talks about like finding a new energy.
Mako.
Yeah, and then apparently that's all connected.
Oh shit. Well, there you go. Well, I mean that like the thing is that puts a new spin on 10.2 because ultimately what 10.2 was for me up until this precise point was the world's longest music video. And I didn't appreciate that at all. So that's actually put a positive spin on things for me. That is right. I forgot his name was Shinra. I never had the heart to play it through till he found a new energy source. So I couldn't have that commitment. Too much.
So you ready to hear what I was thinking of?
Yes.
Oh God, go on.
So for Final Fantasy V, a 2D sprite of Sephiroth
What?
occasionally appears in the loading section for the Final Fantasy Anthology port.
Oh,
really?
For fuck's sake, Steph.
so in that port, I think it had 5 and
I've got it.
6.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Yeah, well, apparently Squall, Cloud, and Sephiroth appear in little loading screens.
Oh, for God's sake, Steph.
So technically, I'm wrong.
Yeah, you are, mate. I'm sorry. But like, you know.
Well, you were on the money. You remembered something.
Yeah, like it's a picture of Sephiroth. So we'll give like you get like, you know, you were a quarter right, I suppose.
But I was thinking like you were going to say he shows up at the end of 8 when Squall's having that massive breakdown.
I never played to the end of 8.
It's a mindfuck.
I can't like get. Anyway, should we stick on 7?
Yeah, let's go about Final Fantasy 7. So storyline's convoluted as fuck.
Do you think so?
When does it end?
So
yes,
the thing is with 7, it starts off with what the premise of it starts off with what you believe is a simple storyline, because effectively the storyline that is fed to you from the start is we are a guerrilla group. We are working against the powers that be. because they are draining the planet dry, and we're effectively we're eco warriors effectively, and we're doing the world a service. So that's the kind of that's the story you're spoon fed from the start. Is that you're
Yes.
if you are talking from Cloud's perspective, you were working for the bad guys. You're now a freelance mercenary, and you're working for the supposed good guys, and that's the balance of power. But that's not all that it seems, is
That's
it?
not it.
No, that is not it. That is not it at all. And then the story does go. The story develops as it goes, as you'd imagine, as you'd hope for any decent kind of like story. But I feel like the story's emphasis does bounce quite a bit throughout. Would you agree, Dan?
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely sort of disconnect at a certain point, especially for some characters, because it's like you're following Avalanche and this eco terrorist group,
Yeah,
eco fighters,
yeah,
and but after a certain point, Barrett becomes a bit sidelined.
yes,
After you leave Midgar and you're off finding like what really happens after you leave
yeah,
the first city, he sort of loses relevance,
yeah,
and that's not really the case because you know what they're aiming for throughout the entire story. The
mm,
things like pile on top of each other, but that's also because of the episodic sort of nature of the disc as well, because you had to like swap to each disc. So
yeah,
I always thought that in itself led to some things feeling a bit broken up,
yeah, yeah.
but that was also because everything just comes together at the end really well, and
Yes,
it's an absolute mind blow.
I
Of
mean, yeah, I mean, in a kind of like not to give too much away, not that we're trying to avoid spoilers for the original, but like in a kind of like really basic breakdown of it, the way I can kind of picture the way story kind of develops is yeah, effectively at the start, it's kind of like you're joining a force of good to battle a force of evil, and the force of evil is a company effectively. Then it goes into kind of a conspiracy of power between like experiments that said company has done, and that's the focus. And then it goes on to Sephiroth being a higher power, wanting to destroy the world. Where I think it starts to get a bit confusing is it's a case of who watches the Watchmen. Is Sephiroth the one in control, and Genova is the kind of the thing that is controlling Sephiroth, or is Sephiroth controlling Genova? I feel that at certain points in the game that gets a bit convoluted. Do you know what I mean? Like who really is sitting on the throne?
yeah, yeah, and I think it's obvious now when you look back at it and people know the
It is.
story as well as they do.
Yeah.
But at the time, I think it came down to the what's the word I'm looking for? Well, the translation. The when people were moving it over, a lot of things were lost in context.
Yeah.
They had a transition team of about 50 people or something. And I mean, even in the gameplay that Steph played through at the beginning, you can
Yeah.
see points of it, like how Barrett's translated, how he comes across, or
Yes.
attack with the tails up. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then just like like perfect counterattack, get battered.
But there are a lot of plot points that sort of get a bit muddied, like the reunion stuff or the black
Yeah.
who are the people in the black cloaks, and
Yes, yes, all of that. Yeah,
some of
absolutely.
it's never really explained in a
No,
perfect way.
no,
Um,
no.
so it can get quite convoluted, but we know a lot of people know the story so well now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, like the focus does switch throughout the game, and I mean, and as it should, because I think if it was more of a mundane story of the focus being like we need to we need to effectively like ruin this company, and the best way of doing it is to bring it to financial collapse by destroying its generators. I think it would get old pretty quickly. You know what I mean? It's just like
I mean, a
multiple
lot of
emissions just bombing their shit, basically.
yeah.
Like you'd think, oh god, there's got to be more than this. Why the
Could you
hell?
imagine?
Why do I shoot lightning from my fingers if all I have to do is place C4 packets in front of small generators? It's not. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. So
Imagine going through every reactor and blowing them all up one by one, and that's just a game. Be
it's one of those things that like I get what Avalanche are trying to do.
Mm.
I get that the kind of like it's this whole thing about like the greater good is the planet and the planet's dying, and so we've got to do this. But effectively, you destroying generators can kill innocent people.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
hundreds
Yeah,
and
because
thousands.
the whole like ceiling collapses.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know. I get Barrett is what I'm trying to say. I do get him, but at the same time, I think that having the leader of a guerrilla group, a guerrilla like organization, as a man who is known to be hot-headed and has a cannon strapped to his arm is probably not the most sound thing. I would say get the level-headed kind of genius who's kind of quiet in the corner. Don't put Barrett in charge. Nobody should be putting Barrett in charge.
Avalanche, yeah, in the original, Avalanche does seem like a bit of a ragtag group.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is it?
100%.
Is
And there's
not
charm in that.
spoilers, is it a bit different in remake?
Yes.
Oh.
Just talking about Barrett in particular.
Yeah,
Um,
let's talk about
because
Barrett.
because in the original he is what I love in the original, and I think I mentioned it at some point during the gameplay.
Yeah.
The way they animate him is lovely because you can really get a feel of that he is a bit bombastic and a bit loud
Yeah.
mouth because he's
Yeah.
tapping his feet and he's waving his arms. His big
Yeah,
gun
yeah.
arm. But he is very brash, and it's sort of like, why would anyone trust him or trust him to lead? I'm sure he's a very good person, and he looks after, and he's got like relationships and his daughter. But
Yeah.
I
And he
wouldn't
loves
trust him.
his daughter. He
Yeah.
does love his daughter.
But in the remake, they make him. They don't really change anything, but it's probably just the voice acting in particular that really helps. You believe everything he's saying. He's still big, bold, brash, but there's a real conviction there, and he's a great orator. I've got to find the voice actor for.
Would you just on this subject, because we're going over a few things of the characters. I've got in front of me the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy VII manual, which has a breakdown of their characters. And of course, because it's quite typically Japanese RPG, it has their blood types and their birthplace. Should we hear a bit about Barrett?
Yeah, why not?
Okay,
it can't be bad. I'm sure.
No. It's going to bring up a few questions first. Of like, just going to chuck it out there. So Barrett Wallace, job leader of Avalanche, age 35, which already throws something in the mix to me. Why is he hanging out with Tifa and Cloud, who are 20 and 21 respectively? That throws a bit of a
Well,
red light.
because Tifa owns the bar that he goes and gets pissed at, and Cloud he's just hired for because he's a mercenary.
Yeah, good point. All right, fair enough. All right,
Yeah,
so
makes perfect sense.
so weapon, gun arm, fair.
Gunnar.
Height, 6'4". So he's
Oh,
he's a,
he's big, isn't he? He's a unit.
I mean, he is. Do you want to have a quick guess at Cloud's height?
5'7".
Yes.
6. Oh,
Yeah. How did? What the? Have you got this up?
No.
Wow. Yeah, he's 5'7". That was
Dan
bloody
studied the
impressive.
manual.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking because, like, when you see Cloud next to Sephiroth in certain shots as well, Sephiroth is a fucking lanky.
Yeah, but I
Like,
assume Sephiroth was like 10 foot.
Sephiroth. No, I've got Sephiroth here. He is 6'1".
6'1".
Off.
Yeah. So Barrett.
His sword is 6'1".
His sword's probably longer than 6'1". Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
Sephiroth's sword's massive.
It's yeah. I mean, all right. A bit more about Barrett. So his birth
That's
date
talking about
is
his death.
yeah. his birth date is December the 15th because we need to know that. Birthplace Coral Village. We do need to know that. Blood type O. Okay. So
I love that they
the-
always do the blood type.
it's perfect in it.
Can
Clouds
you
is
tell
AB
me
if you're
quickly,
wondering. Yes,
if you've got Vincent in that
I do. I've got him right
Okay.
here. What do you want to know?
what's
Do
his
you wanna
blood type? Is it A minus?
No, no, it's A.
Is it just A?
It's just A.
Because I mean, not to drop any little spoilers, but we could potentially be doing a Vincent-based PS2 game. We won't say any more.
Help us.
And as I was just making sure that the disc works and everything,
Yes.
it goes into like a zoomed-in view, and it says Vincent, whatever his surname is,
Yeah.
and then it had blood type A. And I was just like, why did they do this? Why did they do
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that it related back to what is actually in the game.
Some things about Vincent which are quite interesting. Well, he's 6 foot, so he's just a little bit smaller than Sephiroth. But two things that are jumping out to me: his age, 27, which you'd either expect him to be kind of 30 something or 400. Do you know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
thought
Like,
it was gonna be like 400 or 500.
yeah, like something bizarre. The job is what is. I'm loving this. So Vincent Valentine's job. Would you like to have a guess?
Vampire.
No, he's gonna be the
It's so good.
manager of a muffin bake store.
It's so good. It's just job unemployed.
Oh.
And you think, well, if you spend the past 5 years sleeping in a fucking coffin, it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult to hold a job down, personally, isn't it? But
What the hell would you call Barrett's job? I'm sure he's not getting a salary for blowing up.
leader of Avalanche is his listed job.
So I wonder
Well,
if he
man.
takes a good salary.
I mean, Red 13 as well. Job beast.
His job is to be a beast.
And Kate
like
Sif,
it.
job Toysaurus.
Toysaurus.
So I mean, there's a lot of breakdown here. It says about Barrett, because we're focusing on Barrett. It says on his synopsis, head of the underground resistant movement Avalanche, Barrett is fighting the mega conglomerate Shinra Inc., which has monopolized Mako energy by building special reactors to suck it out of the planet. Barrett depends on brute strength and his gun arm in inverted brackets to see him through. His wife died in an accident several years ago, and he now lives with his daughter, Marlene. That's it.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
so in the half an hour we played, you only meet Barrett and Tifa that are going to be your party members.
Yeah.
majority of the first part. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, who you only get up to meeting Red 13. Everyone else
13,
is past Midgar, effectively, isn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, Aerith as well.
Yeah.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, Aerith. Yeah.
Aerith is a year older
Aerith,
than
Ares.
Cloud.
Yeah, she's older. She's older.
Yeah.
I always thought
And-
she was younger.
And here you go, little pop quiz for you two. Between Tifa and Aerith, who's taller?
Tifa.
Hey, Aerith.
It is Tifa, but I would have said Aerith as well.
I
Look
mean,
at
it's
that.
so hard
Yeah.
to tell with those blocky images.
I mean,
It
yeah,
really is.
like effectively you could say what you want. I'm quite happy that you both went separate ways, to be honest, because that shows just how much of a, like, you know, you could say anything you want. They're fucking polygon models. You say
Yeah,
that
it's difficult to
Sephiroth's
tell.
super tall, but I mean at the same time he looks the same height as Yuffie, and apparently she's 5'2". So
That makes sense.
what are you gonna do? Yeah, yeah. Her breakdown is really bizarre, actually. Although you'd never know it by looking at her, Yuffie comes from a long line of ninja. She forced herself into the group just to get a certain something. She's sneaky, arrogant, and way selfish. But with her super shuriken and her special skills, there isn't anyone else you'd rather have on your side in a fight. Well,
Did any of you ever use her as in your team?
yeah, she's really good.
I did quite a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've always wanted to do a
Guess it's just
playthrough.
me then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I've always wanted to do a playthrough where you just don't pick her up. Ignore
Yeah,
her.
I really like her. Like, the thing is, though, if it was a real life scenario and you had a 16-year-old 5'2" materia hunter with an oversized shuriken on to your left, and then you had a 6'4", 35-year-old leader of a guerrilla terrorist group with a gun to his arm on your right, I think I know who I want by my side. Do you know what I mean? I want Yuffie.
She was actually originally going to be a soldier.
What, Yuffie? With the
yeah.
Wu-Tai army?
Yeah, she was. Well, her original character was to be like a mercenary. That was going to chase after Cloud.
like Cloud again.
Yeah, a bit weird, right?
Mate, everyone's a bloody mercenary in this game by all accounts. It says Sid's a pilot, but I never believed that.
I heard he was a mercenary.
I heard he was a lovely mercenary.
Vincent's trying to be a mercenary, but he didn't get employed.
Vincent was a Turk, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yes. Okay.
Turks are a group of people that work for Shinra.
Yes, they're like the KGB to your Kremlin government, effectively.
not a derogatory term that we just threw out there. Just
Yeah.
because.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. And our Russian fan base is fucking a pittance anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much. The thing is, Vincent is probably one of the closest linked to Sephiroth, isn't he?
Yes.
Realistically, because what's her name? Lucretia.
Lucrezia, one of the two.
Yeah, yeah. So didn't she give birth to Sephiroth?
Yes.
So Vincent's kind of Sephiroth's stepdad?
Stepdad. Yeah, well, I mean, you could put it that way, but.
And you boys tried to tell me this wasn't convoluted storyline.
Yeah, sorry, mate. It
so much to go into.
It does go places, doesn't it? Let's be.
You're like, no, it's fairly simple to understand, actually. And then, oh no, wait, this vampire man.
We haven't even got onto the robotic cat yet, have we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but, simple storyline.
That's the good thing about the first part, though, because it is quite straightforward to begin.
Yeah, it's kind enough to kind of be lax with you, so that when you are committed to the game, it then's like it's quite like a relationship. The way I see it is that, you know, I would say your first 6 months of being with someone, you know, you don't want to come across, you don't want to basically expose all of your weird oddities. So you kind of go along with the flow, but then after 6 months in, when things are clear that they are committed to you, suddenly, you know,
your weird side comes out.
It all hangs out, mate. It all hangs out. It all hangs
kind
out.
of like this game. This game feels like the Willy Wonka factory of games. So like at first you look at it, it looks like a fairly normal factory. You're like, all right, all right, I'm all for this. Once you get inside and once you're through the doors and you're in, then it's just fucking madness.
Yes,
that's what this game is.
Chocolate rivers, midgets coloured orange, fucking children exploding after being inflated.
Yeah, it's
all happening. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a place I want to be. Like, I do want to carry on in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, and I want to carry on with Final Fantasy VII. But it is
of fear there, isn't there?
Shit insane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hadn't really realised how much of a conglomerate of madness it is until actually I'm really looking through this and starting to kind of draw a sequence of lines. You know when you see like cop shows or movies where they're trying to uncover some sort of strange mystery, and they've got those like
up on the wall.
Yes, yeah, they've got everything posted up on the wall, and then they've got little threads connecting.
They've got the string between it all. Yeah.
Imagine doing that with Final Fantasy. If you're trying to unravel everyone's connection to one another, fucking hell, you'd need a yarn factory, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, this game just has it in the original as well, but it's because they've gone so far with the extended universe. It's like FF7 is Marvel, really. It's like Square Enix's version of the MCU.
It's a magnum opus, effectively, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
do you think in the remake, Dan, they're going to slowly like make the storyline a bit more fleshed out and a bit easier to understand, or do you think they're like in the next game they're just going to go fucking balls deep?
I mean, they're definitely going to flesh things out and really take their time to make things more understandable. Like the clones, this guy are sick, and all that sort of thing have been fleshed out already. Yeah, another translation error. Love it.
Yeah, beautiful.
This guy are sick.
Is that the one? Is that the one near Eris's house with the?
Yeah, he's in a little house, isn't he? I remember.
Yeah.
He walks in, then walks out. Like, this guy are sick. It's like,
this guy are sick. Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Eris. Yes, you are. But everything's getting really fleshed out, and also like Yuffie and Wutai are just being alluded to. Wutai is getting so much exposition. You're excited to go there now, whenever that may be.
Cool.
But I'm pretty sure things are still going to be very confusing. Very confusing, especially for people that haven't played the original. I mean, they're not going to have a fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine only through the first part, if they're just like, if they're taking this all in for the first time, because I'm trying to kind of put myself to mind when I first played Final Fantasy VII, and of course it was mind-boggling. But at the same time, I was a child and my mind was like a sponge, so taking kind of all these mad things in wasn't too over the top. If somebody's going through this for the first time with the remake, and effectively the first bit of information they've got is Barrett with a gun attached to his arm, I mean, just from then on, they think, I think I'm going to have to broaden my horizons and open my mind whilst I'm playing this, because I didn't expect that.
Well, it's really it's really interesting. I mean, it is quite down to earth, and you're quite centered on that first where you play the demo for the remake.
Yeah.
But then very soon after, I'm not entirely sure, like, because with the original, everything's slowly drip fed, like especially Sephiroth in particular.
Yeah, definitely.
There's just allusions to him, and then you really focus on him after a certain point.
Yeah.
But there's allusion, like, because everyone knows Sephiroth now, because he's in like general consumer knowledge. He sort of like sells the game. They put him like front and center. There's a lot of things going on that are just being thrown at you, like right at the beginning, and that's sort of why Advent Children is what it is as well, because it's the characters have taken on such a huge life that like we got to put them front and center even more now.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh God, Advent Children. Should we have like a last breakdown of this game, and not necessarily the story or anything, but basically,
should we go through some reviews for the original PlayStation version?
yeah, go on. That'd be wicked. Go on.
So you expect them to be good, right?
Yes.
Oh.
All right, so let's go through it. Tom,
The majority.
I know you enjoy a fucking
Awful review. Yeah,
like a just like all different styles of reviews, as in
yeah,
like
exactly. It got
out
a C
out of letters,
and then
like
a
7,000.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Stars.
I love it. It drives me mental. Go on.
I'll do my best. Right, so oneup.com gave it an A+.
Oh, well, fantastic marks.
All Game gave it a 5 out of 5 stars.
Fantastic marks. Beautiful.
Edge Magazine 9 out of 10.
Oh, it's unacceptable.
EGM 38 out of 40.
For fuck's sake, man.
An interesting one. An interesting standard.
Boys, I think this is my favourite one.
Go on.
Game Fan.
Oh.
300 plus out of 300.
What? It's not.
It
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's
What's that
so
about?
good.
How would you mark out of 300?
Fuck knows.
That implies that like there are 300 aspects to mark. Because if it's not, if they're giving like 10 points per aspect and there are only 30 points, why don't you just do it out of 30? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get fucking reviews.
They're giving sound and visuals like a 60 out of 60 or something, and then
It's weird. It's weird. Just imagine the boardroom meetings. Imagine being an employee. Your mind would be fucked because they'll just be like, "Look, I've gone over the sound design of Final Fantasy VII, and although I think it's fantastic, I don't believe it deserves 29. I'm going to give it 17." You think, "I don't know what's happening anymore. I don't get it. I don't get this. I don't get this shit." Is it
Anyone that gave this game a soundtrack of 17 deserves to be shot. Soundtrack is
exactly
so good.
Exactly, but at the same time, 17 could be a better mark than 34 because we don't understand their fucking judging criteria. It's mental. Jesus Christ.
So to round it off, the overall Metacritic for this game,
Yeah.
what do you boys reckon it would be?
90. Is it out of 100 again?
Yes.
93?
I would have said 93, 92.
92.
Oh, Dan! You bastard! You nabbed it from me by 1 point.
I just went off your estimation.
Yeah, bollocks. Oh, goodness. Well,
so would you obviously, Dan, you have just completed, or you've completed Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you're now on your way to get the Platinum.
Yeah.
Once you finally do that, would you carry on playing Final Fantasy VII PS1 version? And Tom, would you go for your 9th playthrough of it?
I'll let Dan answer first.
I would definitely go. I plan to go back to the original because not only is the remake not finished because there's still parts to come, God knows for how long in the future, but the remake doesn't replace the original in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because the original is what it is. It's its own charming narrative. It's got
It's held in high regard for a reason.
yeah, and the gameplay, the battle mechanics, although materia plays in both of them, they're their own thing, and it's fun, but just by itself. So yeah, I'd definitely go back and play it.
Awesome.
Fair. Tom,
Awesome.
would you do your 9th playthrough?
Right. To put it this way, there are certain games I will always and have always come back to in my life. More recently, I would say it's something like Dark Souls 3. Like I could just jump on that and do a playthrough of it and not think anything of it. But the two original ones I can think of are Symphony of the Night and Final Fantasy VII, and I know they're never getting old. Like they will stand the test of time until the day I die. So no doubt in my mind, there's another playthrough coming sometime soon.
Nice.
And you, Steph, is this tempting you to pick it back up after all this time?
It is. It is. I just, like I said to you lads before, I don't know what it is because I've tried to pick it up and play it a few times.
Yeah.
I just can't. I basically get to, the second half of the Midgar section, which is still only a few hours in,
Yeah.
and I just find myself giving up with it. And I don't know why, but
Yeah.
I do want to go back and do it. I really do.
Yeah.
I think
absolutely.
I might maybe get the Switch version, and then the idea of being able to sit down, play it at my desk and on my TV, or then just like take it away and sit in the front room and just doing some bits.
Yeah. Good
Is
idea.
probably
Mate.
what I need out of a Final Fantasy VII. I
Absolutely.
think that's part of the problem.
Yes. Absolutely. You should do that. You should 100% do that.
Midgar, the Midgar section only takes like 5 hours, and
Yeah.
that's interesting to play before you, if you go on and play remake as well.
That's it.
Which
Like,
I will.
yeah, if you've got it on the Switch, just think of it like, yeah, I'm just going to sit down and play an hour of it while I do other bits. And after making that decision 5 times or 6 times, you're effectively out of that section, and then you're on to the open world, mate.
That's it. Yeah, I think that's what I need to break that barrier. And once I break that barrier, I'll be fine. But I think it's just
Absolutely.
when I sit down at my, setup, I just want to stick on and play a game. It's
Yeah.
not always Final Fantasy VII the thing that I want, but
Yeah.
if I could take it and sit in the kitchen or whatever and chatting people, whatever I want to do, at least then I can get more out of it, I think.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, mate.
Yeah.
Well, look, you jump on that, and I think there's another playthrough of the original coming for all of us by the sounds of it. But let's leave our positivity by the door now, guys, and let's move on to what people really want to hear about: Advent Children.
Advent Children. So have you boys seen this film before?
Yeah, and I thought it was wicked when I was 13 and into self-harm.
Yeah, it came out in 2005, and I'm pretty sure I watched it. I think I might have watched it with you, Tom.
You probably did.
Remember.
You probably did, because I was like, "This is really cool. You should watch this because it's really cool."
And I think I remember enjoying it as well. But now we rewatched our half an hour that we do for the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of it, to be honest.
Nah, there's a lot of kind of quite key element to this film that I think I'd intentionally forgotten, like aspects like geostigma and free triplets. Well, obviously they're triplets, there are 3 of them. Fucking a series of grey-headed triplets, which I don't even know what to say. Like they're painfully.
They're painful characters.
Yeah, what's the right term for it when something's? I want to say emo, but it's kind of that, but it's not. It's something more than that. Do you know what I mean? But it's just this whole kind of like,
Edgy.
yeah, edgy. Yes, edgy. Just 3 fucking edgy characters again.
I find them really fucking annoying as well because they're like, "Oh, where's Mother? We need to find Mother. Do you think they'll be happy to see us?"
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I had it in
it's
Japanese, so I
boring.
didn't know what the fuck was going on. But even in Japanese, I found it drivel, absolute drivel. Because it's beyond what they're saying. It's just the typical kind of like, their fringes all in front of their face and their little glowy eyes are sticking out and they're just like looking up to the sky with this sad little face, and you think, oh,
It's like
piss off.
when you've got a teenager who's going through angst and they aren't willing to put any effort into anything.
Yes.
And they can't, these people can't even put effort into projecting their voice even past like the next meter in front of them.
You're
That's
so
what
right.
it's like.
You're so right. And that sort of attitude, this sort of attitude that they've adopted, which is effectively like, I'm not going to do any household chores. The state you are putting yourself in to avoid doing a dishwasher. Are you fucking serious? It's a dishwasher. It effectively does it for you. All you have to do is rinse the plate off and put it in. Do it. Do your fucking job.
Do it.
And piss off. God, I hate them. Fucking hate them.
It's the fact that for me, I hate when people act like children. It's like that that it's a really like pet peeve of mine. And their characterization is they're like not fully formed. So and the voice actors play it like, there's mother, don't cry.
Yes.
Oh, and it's creepy. And I know it's probably meant to be a bit creepy as well, but because of some of the elements just don't mesh together, they're just annoying.
Yeah, it's and one thing like on this aspect of like characters being like, you know, I would call it self-absorbed. Do you know what I mean? This kind of like, you know, everyone's kind of really having a great time at their own pity party, that sort of thing. Like we've touched on this a couple times before we've started recording the podcast, but Dan, you particularly have an issue with this, and it's Cloud and just his what they did to his character.
Yeah. It's like the whole movie as a whole. I'll have to go back and watch the whole damn thing to realize what the end point is. But it's a downer. It's sort of like no matter what happened at the end of the game of the original FF7, it's a bad ending for a lot of people because Cloud doesn't get over Aerith dying. He blames himself. Oh no! Did I do it? Did I do it? I dropped it.
Who dies?
No.
Red 13 got put down.
Red 13 had worms. No, like I said, Dan, like you
Vincent
can't
drank
escape.
holy water.
You can't.
Oh god! What have I done?
You can't escape the like the spoiler of Aerith dying. It's just it is everywhere now.
He died of mange.
He became rabid.
Rabid
13.
Foaming at the mouth and trying to bite Tifa's ankles. Barrett took him outside.
So big shot to the back of the head.
Big shot.
I do find it weird though that you get to kind of pick who you're going to go for. You're going to go for Aerith or you're going to go for Tifa.
Oh well, if you're in any way not fucking like mental, if you have thought of consciousness and self-belief, and if you're a decent human being, you fuck Aerith off and you go with Tifa.
Yeah, so if you go for one of Tom's playthroughs and you go with Tifa, right, I understand, obviously Aerith is still a friend and he's still devastated by what happens, but like you should see him start to come out at the end of the tunnel by the end of the game. You think, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he kind of
avoiding because avoiding the other spoiler, he becomes his own person. He becomes something more than just trying to act cool.
He becomes Cloud Strife.
Yeah, he just becomes his own person, and that own person is a bit geeky. It's a bit like awkward. But then the Advent Children seems to just go back on that. They make him extra edgy for
God.
And Dan, you seem to blame this on Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, I also blame it on Tetsuya Nomura, but he's to blame for many things. Although he's still doing the remake and he's doing a great job as far as I'm concerned.
And he is the director of Final Fantasy VII, was he not?
Yeah.
For the remake, yes.
Yeah.
For the remake, but not and for Advent Children.
And for Advent Children, yeah.
God.
Wow.
But Kingdom Hearts came in 2001, I believe, where they shoved all the Disney characters as well as Final Fantasy characters, Square Enix characters.
Yeah.
And that's when there was a redesign of Cloud and Sephiroth. And Cloud was incredibly huge downer. He was like,
And he was the director of Kingdom Hearts.
yes, he was. Nomura was.
So this all makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
What's wrong with him? How old is he?
He
I
was
mean, he
born
must
in
be.
1970.
Why is
Gonna
he so
say.
fucking so he's in his 50s? So why is he so overtly focused on teenage angst?
God, that's what.
Well, hopefully he's not. Hopefully in remake we get a better version of Cloud.
Oh,
But even in his
Cloud's
30s
much
and
better.
stuff. God, I don't get it. I don't get it.
But Nomura is a very special director, scenario writer in general. He does whatever the hell he wants. I swear to God. But Cloud was like redesigned into something a bit very, very edgy. I will keep using that word, but and they
The right
definitely
word to use, to be honest.
they definitely walked that back now for the remake. They've made him a teenager in a very certain, or a young adult, and it's it's charming to see like him grow and make mistakes and get embarrassed. But here, it just feels like they've gone in Advent Children. They've gone back on any character development, and they put him in a rut. And it feels like it's just not a happy ending for anyone, especially for Tifa, because she's having a shit time, especially in this movie. Absolute shit time.
I feel so sorry for her. Do you know what? Like I mentioned it when we were watching the film, and effectively Tifa's situation is she's looking after Marlene pretty much full time because Barrett's off doing God knows what all the time. So she's kind of become carer to Marlene, and then she's also carer to this kind of orphan child that Cloud has found, who has this strange condition which seems to be plaguing most people around Midgar called geostigma.
One particular man is bleeding out of every orifice.
Yeah, he walks up to these kids in the street. He's literally bleeding out of his arsehole. And it's like, and it's just like people are almost nonchalant about it. He's like, he's got fucking blood pouring out of his eyes and his ears, out of his mouth, and then he's
really
like,
don't remember that. That was quite.
It's like, and then the kid's just like, what happened? It's like, if you don't remember that, mate, like it's either trauma on another level, or you are thick. You are very thick. There's a density to you that can't be cured.
And
I'm going to leave you on the streets next time. You act up.
So I think the CGI actually holds up in this film.
that is very true, especially when that all started coming out every part.
Yeah, CGI is pretty good. Yeah, CGI is pretty good. But so wait, so Tifa's effectively become a nanny, hasn't she?
Yeah, in a certain
running
sense.
the bar, but yeah, she's a nanny.
Yeah, she's running a bar, but effectively caring for two children.
Basically, Tifa's just gone back to where she was at the beginning of Final Fantasy VII with an extra kid.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's bullshit because like Cloud's off like gallivanting whilst being a misery guts. Barrett's probably like, he's mining for coal or something, and they're just happy to lob these fucking infants at Tifa and just be like, well, you deal with that. And if this is like how long after the events of
2 years.
Who?
2 years.
2 years. So she's 22 years old in Advent Children. She's 22. She's
sorry, but Tom going, how long does this take place after Final Fantasy VII? And Dan goes 2 years, and you said who? So she's 22 years old. She's in the prime of her life. Frankly, let's be honest. She should be out, like hanging out with friends, meeting people, maybe playing the field a bit, all of that sort of stuff. She's 22. She's a right fucking banger. Like, she's great to look at. She's got looks, she's got personality, she's got style. And what's she doing? She's nannying 2 fucking sick children who are bleeding out of their arseholes day and night, whilst the respective, male carers fuck off and do their own thing. It sickens me, frankly.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a happy ending that was ever reached. And that's because they've got a whole movie to get through to get to that happy ending. But
God.
But I mean, they're dealing with the whole movie's dealing about the literal plague, which is very apt timing. But
yeah, it is.
but yeah, but like Steph was saying, it looks incredible, and the fight scenes when they're there, and the fight scenes are the only thing I could actually remember before going back to it. They're great as well.
Yeah, I could only remember the one because we normally watch for half an hour, but we watched for an extra, was it like 6-7 minutes?
Yeah,
So we could watch the Tifa fight scene in the church,
which is amazing.
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
So when this film came out,
That
it
was
got
the movie.
praised for its anime. Did I say?
Praise.
But I don't know. When this came out, it was praised for its animation, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was criticised for its plot.
Oh.
As in, they basically, shocker. But they said it was, you just couldn't understand what it was if you didn't play Final Fantasy VII.
Or if you were watching it in Japanese, like Tom was.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, I fucking didn't have a clue what was going on, to be honest.
At the end, would you play Final Fantasy VII, or would you watch Final Fantasy VII as your children if you hadn't played Final Fantasy VII? Like, it's not a leading in game. It's a placed after game. So of course it's going to have story elements. And as we've already discussed, it's convoluted batshit madness anyway. So
that's the thing.
I don't know what you're expecting.
That's the thing. It ain't a criticism of the film itself because that's a precursor. The fact is that it's like someone saying effectively, like, oh, you know, do you play video games? No. Have you any interest in video games? No. Well, then why do you want to watch Street Fighter 2 the movie? Like, what are you getting? What are you getting out of this? Because you know you're not going to understand it. You know nothing's gonna make sense to you, and
it's
you know
not for you.
Yeah, you know it's not enjoyable. So, but that's not a reason to grade it down, because that relies on people being interested. That's beyond the realm of possibility for what the movie provides you. That's people's personal opinion. That reviewer can fuck himself.
Yeah. For some people, it was their very first foray into FF7, and because the characters are sort of in general consensus now. In the minds of people, a lot of people just do know who Sephiroth is if you shove the character model in front of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, as far as a Final Fantasy movie goes, this is like worlds better than Spirit Within, for instance.
Oh God.
Which was that was something else.
I've never watched
that. I've never got through it. But
yeah.
Do you know what I don't understand though?
Go on.
Here we go.
This film is like partly responsible for an increase of PlayStation 3 sales, and I just don't understand how they relate to each other.
You mentioned that, Dan. Go on.
It must just be the graphics or the engine they were working with, because it must have been literally publicized as this is what the PS3 is going to look like. Yeah,
actually, that's a good point. If they used it as a way of saying, like, you know, with technology like this, imagine what gameplay could be like. You know, people would flock, wouldn't they? Regardless of whether it's on a PS3 or not, they would flock to it if they thought that's a potential.
Yeah, I was really expecting, because it's almost been like 17 years since the movie made. I was like, no, it's not going to be as good as I remember it looking. I think there was one or two things, even when I had a look at the character models, like Red 13 looks quite good when he's running at the beginning.
Red 13 looked good, yeah.
The only thing that doesn't look good is Katesis. I mean, he's never looked good. So,
what the fuck is he?
It's just a robotic cat
on a Toysaurus.
Yeah, Toysaurus.
Do you want me to read his synopsis out?
Oh, please do.
Yeah, I kind of do.
Right, first of all, job Toysaurus, age unknown, weapon megaphone, height 3'2", birth date, birthplace, and blood type are all unknown. Okay, Katesif rides around on the back of a huge stuffed mog he magically brought to life. Megaphone in hand, he's always shouting orders and creating dopey attacks. When his slot machine attack works, the enemy lines look like an overturned toy box. His hobby is fortune telling, but like his personality, it's pretty unreliable.
It's such a main character, and that's like peak Final Fantasy there. It's like, we'll throw this in. He was clearly for comic relief, but
Yeah,
My
I mean,
God.
it's one of those things. Like there is one in each game to my mind. Like I would say the equivalent in Final Fantasy IX is Queener.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
the equivalent. I can't think of the equivalent in 8 actually.
In 8, it's Zell.
Yes, it
but
would be Zell.
to a lesser extent, and then there's Irvine, who's a player.
Yeah,
That's like funny.
What
yeah.
about 10? What about a game that I've played? What about Final Fantasy 10?
Kimari's
good
kind of like he fills the same role, Kimari, but
But Waka is the
Waka's
comedy
like the
relief.
comic relief. Yeah.
Oh, Waka.
Oh God, there were thinking about it. There were some pretty awful things about 10 as well, weren't there? There were some things that you just think like, oh God, like I
No,
remember one
Waka's the
just
best.
just
John
Waka
DiMaggio.
smiling. Waka smiling was always a
Hey,
bit much
man.
in my opinion.
Hey,
Hey man,
man.
you know, you know.
Well, the
I
funny
love
thing
Waka.
is,
I thought it was great.
yeah, his
No.
voice actor John DiMaggio, I think, is also
It
in
was John DiMaggio, wasn't it?
remake, and he's playing Heidegger, the
No
puppet.
way!
Yeah, and
Are
I
you
didn't
serious?
realize at all until I looked it up, and I was like,
But you know John DiMaggio is Bender from
yeah,
Futurama.
yeah,
How fucking funny is that?
oh, and it's
Wow,
great.
I didn't actually know that. Shit. Wow, that's awesome. I want to play 10 again now. I'm on it. Fuck
And
7.
and he's
7
in all
7
the
rubbish.
Final Fantasy 13s.
What? John DiMaggio?
Yeah, he's in Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy
Wait.
13 2.
Who does he play in 13? I bet you it's Hope.
He's playing 12.
Oh, he's just additional voices.
He's what? Additional voices?
Additional voices.
Well, thank
And he's
goodness.
Gilgamesh in Final Fantasy 13 2.
He is. I remember that. Where are you finding all of this?
I am on FinalFantasyFandom.com.
Okay, now. Goodness gracious.
I'm in a rabbit hole, mate.
You are down the rabbit hole. So,
Where
I
were
mean,
we?
go on, Dan.
Where were we? So you were just about to go back on as well.
So yeah, to Advent Children, we were talking. I mean, I kind of lost track after I went on a rant about Tifa's kind of current position, which didn't interest me very much.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about what they've done with all the characters. There was a lot of like redesigning or little character changes.
Yeah,
Tifa, because I love Tifa as a character and as a strong female character as well. Because when she starts fighting, you can just you can immediately believe she can just do anything. Because I mean, the fight scene itself was amazing.
it is. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant.
But the voice acting, or I'm not going to shit on the voice actor. There's directing as well, and there's also like just the situation that the character was in the movie. But it's just so downtrodden. It's just everything. But everything's slow. Everything is slow in this.
The problem I was starting to have with it towards the end of the kind of 30-something minutes we watched is I started to feel that the outcome of this is going to be grimly predictable, because what the focus is at the start of this is the fact that they're all segmented. Cloud's off being a troubled loner, Ares is dead, Tifa's a nanny to children she hates, Red 13's nowhere to be seen, Barrett's
Red 13's
digging.
just running around howling at things with his kids.
Yeah, Red 13's howling at the moon. Barrett and Sid are off digging coal together. Kate Sif is, I don't know, he's probably in a toy shop somewhere, and Yuffie and Vincent, who knows?
Well, they're getting ready for Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah, they're in Dirge of Cerberus, mate.
They're getting ready for Dirge of fucking Cerberus. So everyone's segmented, but there's this constant, every 5 minutes or so, there's this effort for contacts, like Tifa calling Cloud or Barrett calling Cloud. There's this conscious narrative of them trying to get back together.
Little name drops.
Yeah. And so I can't help but think to myself, I can predict that they're all going to get together in the end. Yeah. And it's going to be, through the power of friendship, they're going to overcome all adversity. And I think to myself, come on, that it's a remarkable cop-out. It's a remarkable cop-out. One of the things which made the ending of Final Fantasy VII the game great is that they did work together as a team, and they through friendship and companionship, they overcame adversity, but also they became individuals. Their characters strengthened as individuals, all of them. And so you think to yourself, that's the outcome you want, not just this like, oh yes, through the power of friendship, we defeated the three evil triplets who ended up being, Sephiroth's left testicle, right testicle, and penis. And you think like no,
That's
like
a
no,
great analogy.
that's it's a cop out, because at the end of the day, they're still a bunch of cocks and balls, and we don't want anything to do with that. We don't want you to overcome cocks and balls with friendship. We want you to figure it out for yourself, overcome adversity as individuals and teammates, and batter Sephiroth. No analogies, no cocks and balls, no triplets, none of that. Just slap him.
They do eventually, in a very cool fight scene that I do remember at the end.
Yeah, once again, the fight scene is good. Yeah, I'll submit to that. Very true.
It basically feels like there's maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know how many fight scenes there are in this film, but it just feels like there's a whole lot of word salad surrounding two very good fight scenes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And I think that's also like the beginning of Nomuraism, because he, like with Kingdom Hearts and what Kingdom Hearts became, it was very much like throwing words into a black hole and just seeing what comes out.
God, yeah, Kingdom Hearts is fucking hard work, and it's I can't even begin. And as well, I can't. We've mentioned this before, haven't we, Steph? It's like, the gameplay of Kingdom Hearts is one thing, because I can see how it can be very entertaining. I do see that. But if anyone walked in on me playing Kingdom Hearts, like if my wife found me playing Kingdom Hearts, I would divorce her for her sake. I'd be like, nah. I'd be like, no, go find a real man, and I'm gonna cry into my love pillow. I couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't anymore. I gave up a year or so ago. I can't anymore.
But, yeah, oh god.
It's something that's never really interested me. I gave Kingdom Hearts 2 a go when it came out, and it's just from then I was like, this is just bullshit. I just don't get it. Like,
there's
I
some
don't
great
understand.
themes, some great themes and things that are hidden underneath, but they are hidden by a lot of faff. Either corporate or just scenario writing.
Yeah, epic amounts of faff. Ridiculous.
Yeah, so much faff.
But I mean,
too much faff.
Not going on to like the end point of our discussion, but this movie was like, you're going to see all these characters again. It's going to be awesome. This is the only reason why they're doing it. But I mean,
you're alluding to something there, Dan.
Oh yeah, but talking about some of the characters, still, like we talked about Barrett for a bit about in the original game. Barrett in this game, in the movie, we didn't get to see him, but his redesign is to try and move away from the stereotypes of like that Mr. T character. I love it. They give him like some fishnet dress to wear.
I'm all for it.
And the fact that his first line is, as soon as I heard it, I just went, "Great job on yourself." No stereotype. It is literally on the phone. He goes, "Cloud, what up, fool?" And
I ain't getting on no plane.
It's like, "What's up, fool?" Is the actual line, and I'm just like,
yeah, and we're trying to move away from that Mr. T stereotype. Good job there.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, in Advent Children, they also gave him a series of gold chains wearing around his neck because they tried to actively stay away from the Mr. T stereotype. Fucking hell. It's like saying fucking Balrog wasn't based on Mike Tyson. He was called Mike fucking Bison in Japan. It's like if there was ever
that whole thing was just mental, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like if there was ever like literally plagiarism of somebody's character, it's that. And Barrett's borderline at times with Mr. T, I must admit. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, so
any more thoughts on the film?
Well,
go on, Dan. I don't think I've got any.
Just the last part of characters, I will say, Turks, Rude and Reno are brilliant.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, the Turks have done well. I'll give you that. Turks done well, and I'll give you that. I'll concede.
Yeah. And Reno, the voice actor for Reno, I really should find it out because I think he might be the same one in the remake as well. And I'd be surprised if it wasn't, because he was having tons of fun. Although,
yeah.
although
He's one of the more characterful characters, I would say.
yeah, but it also is just there's good chemistry between him and Rude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might be different voice actors during that time and that time. Well, it's been a while, and I think a lot of people are on doing strikes. There was a voice actor strike at some point. So a lot
Really?
yeah, that's why they got a lot of like different people. It's a different. It's a little, I don't think it's the same Cloud, Sephiroth, Tifa, Aerith. It's all new.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I've got 2 notes about from what we watched.
All right, go on.
They're quite well. One of the last moments that we all watched when the guy touches one of the kids.
Oh yes.
I wanted to stop there, but
yes, you're so right. Where the kid's got that geostigma, so effectively he's producing like crude oil from his skin.
Yeah, it's like
the guy touches him to like help him up originally, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he touches him to help him up, and then realizes he's got his hand covered in crude oil, and then literally chucks the child back down the floor, and he's like, "Oh, you fucking freak!" and like
you contaminated me.
Yeah, like wipes sludge all over his jeans, and you're like,
why?
What the
Why
fuck
did he wipe it on his
doing?
jeans?
What the fuck are you doing? Go wash your hands, you freak! What are you doing?
All over himself.
It's so weird, man.
So self-defeating.
All over, yeah. So weird. So weird.
And the other note that really just jumped out at me, and it was around about the 12-minute mark.
Okay.
A part of the sound foley, whoever was sourcing sounds for the bike noises. There's a lot of bikes in.
There are a lot of bikes, actually, isn't it? There's a lot
there are. No, I think about it. Yeah, there are.
Yeah, it's a lot of bikes.
Just to be really cool and sell merchandise. But I swear, when the trio are talking to themselves and they see Cloud, and then 2 of them ride off.
Yeah.
The moment they rev their engine, and I don't know how this is going to come across sound-wise when I do it, but you go back to that 12-minute mark, around about then, it is literally a man flubbing his lips going it's unbelievable. That's all I can hear.
Oh, that's really good. I didn't notice it when watching it, but like I think I turned the volume down a bit because I couldn't get the Japanese, to be honest.
You were talking over most of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no fucking clue what was going on the whole time.
So true. So true.
The trio are looking for Genova, and Genova's or Sephiroth is causing the plague. Geostigma.
Dan.
Yes.
I don't care. I'm not going to watch this film.
Well, that's answered one question, isn't it?
That's answered my question. Would either of you 2 carry on watching this film?
Nah. Nah. I wouldn't. I don't think I would. No.
Dad?
Okay.
Be quiet.
Yes, I will. I will watch it to the end. And there is a reason I'm going to watch it to the end, and the reason is because
I have nothing better to do.
What else do I have to do at this time of my life? Work is not bogging me down, to say the least. But after playing remake as well, I think it's necessary to go back and look at some of the canon and just like see what things have changed, or this and that, and it's putting things in context. And also, it's just because, well, I mean, I say that I'm not going to go back and play Dirge of Cerberus. That ain't happening.
You will be soon, mate.
Unless someone forces me. Unless someone forces me, I'm not going to have to play it.
We've spoken about Stephanie's gun arm.
Oh man.
Maybe a pellet gun, but believe me, if he shoots you up close, it really stings.
You'll get a big owie.
Yeah.
Right, so Dan, you would carry on watching this film then, yeah?
Yes, I'm going to.
Good.
Okay. Right, should we have a look at the core ball to see what we're thinking?
Yeah, and this is going for the game, isn't it?
So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same as we've done for Doom. So we put the game in where we think the game belongs, along with the rest of the games we played.
Oh my god, I know where it's going.
So, and then we decide if the film is a cash grab or not. So, Tom, where do you think it's going?
It's number one, mate. It's number one all day. Final Fantasy VII for the PS1. It's number one. It's top.
I mean, it was always going to be, wasn't it?
It is. It's top. It's
Oh,
top.
okay. Oh, okay. I was interested
like,
to see where you two would go with it.
Oh, I love GoldenEye. I love me
Yes.
some GoldenEye. And Alien Resurrection was one of the most wonderful surprises I've had in 3 years. But yeah, it's top. There's no denying it. It's top.
That's grand.
I mean, I'm not even going to bother arguing you, to be honest, because although I haven't played it recently,
Yeah.
I know its legacy. I understand why it's so good. I do,
Yeah.
you know, and I am desperate to play remake when either
Absolutely.
Dan's finished and I can borrow his copy, or
I'll send it straight to you.
or I can get paid and buy my own copy. Either one, which happens first.
Exactly.
I'm desperate to play it. Therefore, yeah, Final Fantasy VII should be number one.
Beautiful. So
That's
the pressing question is: Advent Children a cash grab of Final Fantasy VII?
Absolutely it is.
It fucking is, isn't it? Jesus Christ.
I think like the producers and directors and people involved would say no.
Of course they would.
Of course they would, because
In
they've
the same
been...
way, it's like fucking Billie Eilish saying like, "Oh no, I don't rip off Radiohead and Led Zeppelin." Shut up, you silly twerp. Of course you do.
Because they're trying to make this compilation of like the extended universe, and apparently that's like their plan, and that's what they've been doing. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, for all intents and purposes, this movie, it was probably like the best sold animated movie at the time. And
absolutely.
it was a huge cash grab.
Yep. Yep. Cash grab all day, every day.
Did very well in that regard.
Yeah, it's a successful cash grab, but definitely a cash grab. 100%. So that's, my God, GoldenEye's been dethroned.
But it's the same year, isn't it? 1997?
Yeah,
1997.
Yeah, it is. That was like fucking a golden age for gaming. Clearly, a very golden age.
What a year!
One that we seem to be revisiting right now, considering like everything is being remade. Everything, all of the classics. I can't think of
just wait for that Powerpuff Chemical Extraction remake.
Mate, listen. All I need is 500,000 signatures. Yeah. And I'll admit, it's been slow going getting to 200 signatures over the past like 2 or 3 years. It has been slow going. But I believe this is going to have a snowball effect. From where 2 years has been 200 signatures, in 1 year's time, it will be 400. A year after that, 800. So according to my calculations, I need about 62 years to get the remade done. I think I can do it.
It'll be your legacy that you leave behind.
It's what I freely give to humanity, you know. And I say, look, I don't expect a thank you, because let's be honest, you're all a bit ungrateful. But a thank you wouldn't go amiss, I don't think, considering I've wasted 62 years of my life on this. And then there'd be silence, much like you two are giving me now, and I'd say,
yep.
And I'll turn my back as an old wizard man, putting my Powerpuff Girls time capsule in the ground, and I'll say typical, and walk off and die alone. That's that.
Yeah. Well, talking of, should we end the episode?
Let's end the episode. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It means the world that you're through, especially to this point.
Oh, Dan's just cut.
Well, Dan's a fucking ungrateful prick, then, isn't he?
Dan's just cut.
Are you fucking serious? He literally just left. He was like, "All right, let's end it then." Is he back?
He's coming back.
Dan, hello, Dan. You fucked it. He's fucked it. He's gone.
Hello.
Oh my God! Right. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Dan, when I said end the episode, I didn't mean just completely cancel everything.
The actual fuck. Right. Okay. So thank you so much for watching. It means the absolute world. Goodness gracious. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world. Please do like and subscribe. Please check out our other podcasts. And please do check our description below for links as ways to support us through Patreon and other means, and for links to every other episode, including cashing in, opening bid, and all sorts of others. Thank you so much, and we will catch you next time. See you later.
Dan, it's been a pleasure.
Oh,
It has been a
absolute
pleasure, Dan.
I almost made the entire episode without a faux pas, didn't I?
You've done well, mate. I'm surprised.
Unbelievable. Last minute.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
Right.
See you later.
See you later.
Ciao, ciao.